Trista Patterson from United Nations Environment Program and Playing for Planet. What do? Do we go on a short break before we bring her? Nah, let's bring her, but she's been waiting here. And yep, everyone, welcome Trista.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning, Trista.
Yeah, good morning, my time. It's only 5:30 in the morning, but as you can see, we're very far north, much further north than you guys are. And there,
Wow.
and it's cold and it's rainy, and this is the middle of summer. So here we're in the time of year where the sun almost never sets, and the sun comes up at 3 a.m., which makes it much easier for me to collaborate with you guys there.
Wow,
So
that's really nice.
This whole year I've been doing calls all night long at midnight and 2 and 3 a.m. But, it's energy from folks like you that really make that easy for me.
Wow, thanks so much. Yeah, it's afternoon in Western Africa, and I think they're moving into the evening in Eastern Africa because they're 3 hours ahead of us. And
exactly.
We are and you are like 8 hours. That's really awesome.
Yeah, we're spaced very far apart, but I find that so remarkable that we can speak in real time and also stream across to all these people in all these different countries and backgrounds. So wherever you are listening, welcome. We're excited to have you here together. It's really a miracle of technology that we can spend time together and actually feel present. And you just think about how all of the environmental impact that we're saving by not flying all over the planet. This is the best thing that can happen. And also to be able to relate to each other and the challenges and the successes and the tools we're having all around the world is really the best way to support sustainability. So kudos to you, Oscar, for organizing this. I know there's lots of people that are behind the scenes also laboring to put this together, but it takes the startup energy and the creative power of individuals to say, I don't care if there's not funding. I don't care if there's no time. I don't care if I haven't slept for a week and a half. I'm going to do it anyway. So good on you.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's people like you that drive us. Because you remember the first day we had come up with this idea quite a long while. And yes, just like you've said, it's been challenging. But then you shot a message on Twitter and you're like, you love what we did. I was like, oh my goodness, someone really out there is listening. And that really like pushed me to move further because yes, you're totally right. It can be tiring, it can be frustrating. But then, I guess like Nicholas said, you just need to do your own part, play your part, and something amazing will come out of it. And I mean, here we are. I'm speaking with you and I'm really excited about this. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for supporting us, for taking out time to join us this early hour in the morning. And let's dive right in. Let's meet you, Trista Patterson. You're working with the United Nations Environment Program and Playing for the Planet. Let's hear about you, please.
Okay, so I work for GRID-Arendal. It's a support unit to UN Environment Program. It's located in southern Norway, and that's where I am usually, but due to COVID, I'm basing out of Alaska, where my family is from. Playing for the Planet was an invention of 3 groups. There's a group called Playmob located in the UK. They do a lot of crowdsourcing, and they're a game company that is very well networked all across the gaming industry. UN Environment, which was looking for a way to reduce the cost of delivering environmental education and information to people that need it all around the world. And Gridirondal, who is in support to UN Environment, offers knowledge for change. And that's one of the reasons why I thought it was so fun to speak to your audience, because there are so many people all across Africa that have ideas for gamification of especially environment and climate challenges, but they don't know necessarily how to get hooked up with a lot of the science and the information that can support them, or real world activities that can create policy change or national legislation change or create change with networks and especially economic transformation in their countries. And so this is my way of conveying to more people that there are resources and there's a huge audience that's really interested in the grassroots identification of problems that can be addressed by gamification. And there's a whole network of scientists and people that have been working with environmental knowledge that are really willing to support you. So this is a relatively new initiative of gamification within Gridirondal and connected to Playing for the Planet. I'll speak about what Playing for the Planet is in a second, but just to let you know that if you are interested in gamifying an environmental challenge and you are located in Africa and you want to be connected with individuals that can help you, support you in information or visual graphics or help you find free resources to help you, you can talk with us at Gridirondal and we can hopefully get you connected with subject matter experts that would be able to help you make those applications on the ground. So the way to do that is to connect with us either through the Grid-Arendal website, or you can go to my personal website, which is tristapatterson.com. And there's a contact form there that you can send your information and a description of your project, and we'll try to get you hooked up. That's the specific gamification focus, but then more broadly, I'm the co-founder of something called Playing for the Planet. This was a report we wrote 2 years ago, and I thought you guys would be interested to hear about it because at the time when we started this, we had just a teeny tiny budget. And, you know, basically in my mind, everything really that is good that's done in the world is done on a shoestring of budget. And that's what really impresses me is when, you know, you don't have 2 cents to rub together to make any kind of money. You have no time to work on it. And still people decide with their dedication and with working with others that complement their skills to create something that's really explosive and makes a huge change. So Playing for the Planet started on a tiny budget, but in less than 2 years, we have made a private sector alliance, which brought together about 30 of the world's largest video game companies in the world. And so this includes all of the major video game names, as well as many of the smaller creative studios that happen to have blockbuster video games that get something like 1 billion downloads. It's really amazing. And so now Playing for the Planet represents these 30 AAA video game companies that also behind them are the activity of 1.5 billion video gamers, which is really remarkable. So, you know, even if you feel really small in the landscape that you're working, even if you feel that you have very few resources to use and you don't really know how to move forward, with strategy and with systems thinking, it's possible to take what you have and turn it into a much bigger impact. And so that's what I wanted to talk about a bit today. Oh, you're muted.
Like that's really awesome to hear. I'm really excited already. And I took out time to share the link for Grid-Arendal and your personal website. I think as well as Playing for Planet. So guys, if you're listening and you want to learn more, please just go to these links and get updated. I really love what you spoke about, using something small, what you have, and doing something really interesting. I really would love to get my hands on that report, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that. So the Playing for the Planet website is interesting right now because if you go to the projects tab on Playing and then the number 4, theplanet.org, there on that website, there is a tab on projects. And there's 2 places. The report is there under the projects. And then, and that's an overview of the use of games and the environment and development all around the world, and many examples also coming from Africa. Also maps about where gamers are, even in Africa. And then there's also a second tab on the Game Jam. And the game jam is really important right now because you can go in the next 3 days and you can vote for your favorite game jam implementation. And these are in really big name games. So, for example, the creators of Pac-Man collaborated with us to create a green version of Pac-Man. And so you can take a look at what they came up with. There are Subway Surfers always does new destinations that are really exciting. There's a whole Anno is another wonderful, wonderful game that did a lot of sustainability and building that into the ecosystems. So you can explore all the different things that these game companies came up with in designing how they wanted to bring the environment into existing big name games. So that's one way, is if you have a really big name game and you happen to be working for a giant studio, you can move some of these environmental nudges and information and awareness into your games. And that's a very powerful place to be because there's just so many people playing video games these days.
Yeah. Yes. The
second way is if you are working on a project and you're using gamification to make the spread of information or the use of information more fun and more spreadable and more contagious and more explosive. So that is a technique and an approach which is really important to us working on issues of climate and environment and development, because in those fields, as you well know, oftentimes this information gets really depressing, and it's hard to share information and get people excited about the same old story about things going wrong all the time. And this is a wonderful thing about hackathons, about gameathons, about gamification, is that it energizes people. It makes it fun. It makes it easier to almost addictive to put more and more time into it. And that's what we really need, is these watershed moments in how we're approaching climate and environment challenges.
Wow, that's so much interesting to hear. I really love it. Someone from the chat section, I think I think it's good. Someone from the chat section said, that's Wendy, interesting, Green Pac-Man. She's a creative based in Eastern Africa. She's also a member of Africa Communicate, and she's one of the few people writing about the African creative industry for big blogs and websites. And she even had an article on gamification, so I'm sure she's really
I read it. Yeah, I think I read it. It was great.
Really?
She had all these amazing examples based in Africa. It was really cool.
Yes.
I saw that.
Awesome. So there you go, Wendy. Trista read it and she's really impressed with your work. That's really awesome. So what makes you, well, let me ask you, you've made mention of the fact that, yes, it's really depressing. I've read lots of these reports and all, and yes, I can tell you after 5 pages, I'm done. Except it's an assignment or something. So, but what makes gamification really stand out for you? What makes gamification stand out for you?
For me, well, I think that it's the contagious piece that makes it so easy to pass from person to person. That much is obvious. But one of the things that I thought about when I was imagining what I could say in this session today, you have an audience right now of people located all over Africa, which, like Wendy, have specialized in this. Some have written their master's thesis on it. Some are being employed by creative industries to put gamification into different forms of outreach. You know, you already have what you need to work in the area of gamification, and there's many resources there, and what you don't need is lots of examples of what other people are doing with way more money. You know, it's always disheartening to see, you know, all of these people that have fancy jobs in fancy big companies doing all these fancy things. Well, that's great, but I mean, how about us, the little guys that are trying to figure out how to take what little resources we have, and even when everybody is telling us that no, this isn't the way, or no, there's not time, or no, there's not money to do this, and we even question ourselves how we make our impact bigger, is there a strategy to doing that? Is there a way in which we can look at all the different places where we could possibly be putting our time and put our time into the things that are going to make the biggest impact? So in that's what I thought I would spend a few minutes speaking about to your audience, because that is a huge question for everyone working on gamification right now. I mean, you can spend tons of time. You could be doing research, you could be coding, you could be making better graphics, you can be doing more networking. I mean, there's all this stuff, and you have to figure out how to, that mantra of work smarter, not harder. And that is so difficult to do. So where do we find the advice that helps us work smarter, not harder? And I wanted to share one of the resources that I use when I'm trying to figure out how to make gamification a more powerful tool for me, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I have, if I can share, let's see.
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay, I'm going to
just click on the share button down there.
Share screen.
Yep. And I just dropped Wendy's blog for those who might not have read it on gamification. So I dropped the blog so you could check out what she wrote on gamification as well. And this is really exciting, Trista. Are you able to share?
Did I? Let me try one more time.
Yeah.
Share screen. It's blocked my screen.
Wow.
Click the screen icon in your address bar to allow access.
Okay.
The screen.
Don't worry.
I'm not sure how to do that. So
let me see.
Maybe I haven't.
It's probably your browser not allowing you to share.
I think so. I probably removed all the permissions anything that could do anything dangerous. So so I'm just going to I'll explain the idea.
Okay.
If you think of a teeter-totter that you play on with when you're a kid, like that. And say you've got one skinny kid on one end, or let's say my son on one end, he's really little, and I'm really big on the other side. And what matters if we're playing teeter-totter is where we are and where we place the fulcrum of leverage. And so it's possible to take, if you want to lift a really heavy item on this end of the pen, and you've got the fulcrum way over here, it takes a lot of effort to get that up. And if you build out your leverage like this, it takes relatively little effort and you can lift much more weight.
Yeah.
So there's an essay written by a systems theorist called Donella Meadows. She died when she was in her 40s, but she was a MIT architect and a scientist and a teacher and a writer. And she wrote a wonderful essay called Leverage Points for Change. Whoa. And what really triggered light bulbs for me is that she was saying that when you've got a very heavy task, you're trying to lift something like climate change. How do you do that? You're very small, and no matter how much you push, you can just barely make any impact. She was saying that if you strategically place your effort on different places along this lever and you diversify your strategy, you can make big efforts when you're able to. You can also increase the level of difficulty, and you can do lots of little efforts and so on. Without the visual, it's hard to explain, but some of those very big and powerful efforts like this is when you're using gamification to change the mindset of your audience. If you consider, for example, one of the Game Jam entries for Playing for the Planet just took a racing car video game. It's a AAA game, so I'm not going to name any names of the companies in the session, but you can go to the Playing for the Planet voting site and take a look. They changed some of the fastest racing cars to show that they were turbocharged with electricity. So they're electric vehicles, and all of a sudden, electric vehicles become the coolest skins that you can put on the car, and it's the thing that everybody wants. So imagine children playing with this game and seeing that the electric car is going the fastest and has the highest performance and is doing the things that they want the most. How different that changes their real-world decisions when they actually, if they ever got to a point that they could buy a car or an electric vehicle or invest or think about where their energy was coming from.
Yeah.
That question about mindset is really important, and also has a lot of bearing when we think about green code, for example. Tomorrow we'll have a session on green coding where we're going to be talking about the possibility of changing actually the definition of performance, not to be just to get more pixels on your screen, but actually to conserve energy as you do that. And that's so important in Africa because the resources are so scarce with respect to energy, not only energy, but and the power resources that they come from. We want to decarbonize all of our energy sources, as well as remove the need for, say, water-based cooling of our data centers. You can imagine as a small game designer trying to find the resources to get a big game or a big gamification effort up and running. And if you always have to be paying attention to how much server space you have, how big your data center is, how reliable it is, it adds a lot of business cost to you being able to reach the biggest audience that you can. So this concept of leverage is not just about mindset, but it's also about the goals and the system structure that you have. So if you're set up smartly to make the biggest impact. And then other pieces of ways in which you can institute leverage is working on things like feedback loops. Gamification is a really interesting way in which, a really interesting lens to apply the concept of feedback loops, because you are getting immediate response from your audience. You're both sending out a signal as well as receiving it. And gamification is interesting because it's one of those things that that feedback can be immediate, and you can collect information about your users and then modify your gamification strategy accordingly. So doing things like this can help you make stronger games and stronger gamification strategy in your games. I'm sorry that I'm not able to show you my slides on this platform, but I think by coming together with more of us that are interested in applying gamification in Africa, we can create maybe a Discord channel of people that are interested in working together on this and exchanging ideas and resources. We can do things like do a hackathon just for gamification of certain challenges, which will be really interesting. And I think we can also get sponsors for doing some of that, especially from some of our non-governmental and UN environment partners. And just laundry listing some of the ideas that we could do for looking for impact with gamification in Africa. I can think of just off the top of my head. You already mentioned plastic waste. Right now, there are computer models which are predicting places where plastic waste is most likely to enter the ocean. So they're coming down rivers, and the plastic waste, once it's in the ocean, it's much more hard to collect. Right at the place where the river enters the ocean, it's a place that's still relatively narrow. It's a possible good place to invest energy and time and resources in cleanup. But the computer models say one thing, and the reality might be totally different. So using gamification to ground truth the results of some of the predictive models of where environmental problems might be, like plastic waste about to enter the ocean, can be one really good place. Or to say, try to sponsor a beach cleanup in a place that really needs it, and could be a place of not just everywhere, but some place that also might be really important to a local community's well-being in terms of health or safety or fishing or sustainability. Another really interesting possibility with respect to gamification that has come up recently is there is an entity that is working on taking CFCs off of the market. So that is to say, sometimes when appliances are sold, they come with refrigerants contained in them, and those refrigerant containers, cartridges contain CFCs. And so there are many places also in Africa where there are entire warehouses of old refrigerants that cannot be sold on the open market, or maybe they are just sitting in a warehouse waiting to repair old appliances and they will never actually get used. But using gamification to help people become aware of how to identify those refrigerants and also know the right response so that those refrigerants can be safely treated is also a possible way to spread information and awareness to a broad community of observers, and also report that information back so that those CFCs can be safely disposed of. E-waste and identification of e-waste and proper disposal of e-waste is a really important one. Where you're located in Ghana is obviously a source of a lot of emerging technology using artificial intelligence and also gamification in a way to help users and people working in the field directly with the waste to increase their awareness of what to look for, how to sort things, how to stay safer when dealing with those sources of waste. It's really important to use gamification to increase human health and safety in working in environmental risks. So there are ways to make that much more fun and much more interesting and engage more people in doing it. So those are all just kind of ideas off the top of my head that have come up just in this past week of opportunities. So again, if any of you are interested in reaching out, in proposing more ideas of gamification, we can start a Discord. We can work in conjunction with the Game Developers Association. They have a climate SIG. So there's games being developed on climate, and that climate SIG is really active in a wonderful community. We could create a parallel community on Discord about gamification in Africa, and I think there would be a great audience. And lastly, then reaching out for funding together and trying to partner up and approaching some of these entities that have never really thought about gamification as a possible solution. It can be hard to propose creating a game to a nonprofit funder because they say, oh, that's not serious. This isn't really effective. We don't make games, we do the serious stuff. So using language like interactive tools or education or creating community can all be keywords that can help you cultivate support for a gamification tool and help you get more funding for doing the kind of creative work that is so powerful in the world.
Yeah. Wow, you've said so much, and I'm really, really excited. I think what we can do is, because I also want to be conscious of your time. Time is up, unfortunately. But what we can do now is, hopefully tomorrow, we're going to make use of Zoom tomorrow. So that, because we want the session tomorrow to be really, really interactive, whereby the audience can actually also interact with us one-on-one, not just through YouTube and the likes. So tomorrow's session with you is going to be a private session. And if you want to be there, please make sure you're registered. We're going to put out links for you to get into the Zoom so that we can actually share materials, share resources. And I believe maybe we could even have a look at the document you're trying to share today. That would really be amazing.
Great. Yes,
and yes, Wendy she says, I love the ideas of gamification hackathon as well as a Discord channel dedicated to gamification. I joined the SIG channel yesterday. I got forgotten his name. He reached out on social media, and then I joined it, the Discord SIG, and yes, that's something that would be really exciting to actually pull an audience interested in gamification together. And so maybe we move the discussion tomorrow. If you have ideas, if you want to interact with Trista more personally, then tomorrow is a good opportunity to come up with your ideas, because we'll be looking at green coding. And at the end of the session, hopefully we'll come up with some actionable steps that we can follow through after the session. And Trista, wow, it was really amazing having you and speaking with you. I'm really, really excited about the possibilities that we can do in Africa and beyond. And I'll just say thank you. That's all I can say. Thanks for coming online with us. Thanks so much.
Yes, and all of you working on gamification on so many of these topics, you are right in the heart of things. And I know that right now it's difficult to get the resources and to find ways to get the paycheck right now. But really, this is one of the most productive places where you can be putting your time. And so if there are ways in which we can join together to make your work more effective and also help you get the resources that you need to make the bigger impact, then that's really exciting. So I really look forward to speaking with all of you. Go to the GRID website if there, and look through and see if there are specific initiatives that interest you that I can hook you up with some subject matter experts. Go to the Playing for the Planet website, and also on the projects tab, go to the Green Game Jam and vote for the most exciting AAA game insertions of the environment into those games, and see which ones you think are most inspiring and interesting. And then also feel free to reach out to me personally on my website. That's tristapatterson.com, and there's a contact form, so you can tell me about your project, and I'll do what I can to hook you up to other people that will get you going and get you moving for some of the big things that you're going to do in the world. But I really believe in what you all are doing, and I'm so excited about the networks like Africa Comica that bring people together, because networks are really where it's at to help everyone do their best work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So guys, you've heard it. We look forward to meeting you tomorrow. Come with your ideas. Go through the site. All links have been shared in the comment section. So make sure you go through them and you come tomorrow prepared with your ideas, with your questions. Let's do this together.
Yeah, and we're going to be inventing green code together. This is a totally new space. So it takes all of your ideas, and you guys are really, really in tune to the realities on the ground. So we need your ideas. Please do come.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye, Trista.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.